What a difference a week makes here on your Racetrack Supercross show. 7 days ago, myself, Jason Weigandt, standing in front of a snow-capped mountain. Now it's just a beautiful hill of brown grass. As we begin our great thaw out here in the east in 2014, we welcome Monster Energy Supercross officially to the east now, going to Atlanta's Georgia Dome, where weather is no longer a factor since we have a roof overhead. Get used to it. Most of the rounds here in the east, that's the case. Oh, but back in the day, Atlanta was amazing as far as the weather is concerned. The old open-air Fulton County Stadium, at best, was merely freezing cold. At worst, it was a full-on mudder. And there's a bit of a misnomer with this particular event because you see the old pictures of those races, and it was a rutted, tacky affair in that red Georgia clay. That's really not the case anymore. The dirt is still red, but the course makers have done such a great job of learning how to dry the dirt out. It's not nearly as tacky or ruddy as it once was. So even though a lot of people are talking about getting back to that tacky East Coast dirt, nowadays the Georgia Dome event is actually quite slippery depending on how they tack it up. They put water in and do track maintenance at the right time. There can still be some grip, but there are other times where it is just as slippery as anything we've already seen in the series. So we'll see how that benefits some of the riders who have been waiting to get to a place where they can find some traction. We don't know if they're actually going to find it this weekend. Let's give you a little bit of the news. James Stewart, on fire in this series right now, has won 2 in a row for the first time since 2011. We'll try to have a 3 or more race win streak starting this weekend for the first time since 2009. And you might remember this race a year ago, be it tacky or slippery, whatever it was. He held off Ryan Villopoto for 20 laps, which was about as much of a shocker as we've seen since someone would have maybe done that to Stewart a few years earlier. Now Stewart's got 2 in a row already, so he's a lot better at this point than he was last year, and you know he's going to be comfortable in these surroundings. Let's see if he can get another win and continue to close in the points. Our man Jason Thomas has been saying all week, these next 3 rounds very pivotal for Stewart. He seems to always do well in Atlanta and always do well at the Daytona round that's coming up in 2 weeks. You got Indy in between. If he can get on a roll in these 3 races, he'll be right there in points and obviously have all the momentum. If he can't get it done, though, well, you still got to look at the champ, Villopoto, who has 14 points on Stewart, 12 on Roczen. Points-wise, it's about as good as Villopoto's ever been at this point. But every time he doesn't get on the podium like happened in Dallas, isn't able to make moves on riders down the stretch like happened at some of the Southern California rounds, it at least gives the impression that the champ's a little more vulnerable than he has been the last few years. In other words, he's got to try to get that momentum back, should lead to some great racing this weekend. As for Roczen, who's still second in points, he's got a budding rivalry here. He's been on the receiving end of far too many aggressive moves from Justin Barcia that he would like. We'll see if he tries to actually get revenge physically this weekend, or if he watches the show Seinfeld and knows the best revenge is living well. Just try to beat the guy, have a better result. Maybe he'll feel better about it. We'll see if sparks are going to fly between Barcia and Roczen this weekend. As for Barcia, first podium of the year for him. He has to be happy turning the corner just as he goes to what has been now his adopted home race. Barcia's the one that has told me that the dirt can vary so much depending on how much they water it here in Atlanta. Barcia's the kind of guy that really wants some traction. You know he gets on the throttle hard and likes to rev that thing out. We'll see if the track lends itself to that style this weekend. Of course, Ryan Dungey. He's Ryan Dungey. That's all we really say about him every weekend. He's always a factor. Chad Reed, as you folks probably know by now, is out with the injuries incurred of that crash late in San Diego. A couple other riders to think about. This is essentially the home race for the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Yamaha team, and they'll have 3 riders racing this weekend. Phil Nicoletti not a fill-in in Atlanta. He's a full-on 3rd member of the team. Josh Grant back from injury, and Justin Brayton continues his strong riding with a top 5 in Dallas, carrying that momentum into Atlanta. They are on hand for press day.
Well, starting at Phoenix, had a crash in practice, first practice, and ended up separating my shoulder. I cracked my collarbone, and what else did I do? broke a rib. So I was kind of beat up from that a little bit, but still wanted to keep racing. I felt like I was still able to kind of go back out and do my job, and I didn't think it would be too bad. But after weeks of letting it heal and trying to race on the weekends, it kept just not getting better, and nothing seemed to go in the right direction. So decided to take a step back after Anaheim and give it a full chance to like kind of get a hold of itself, you know, and kind of regroup and heal up. So took a week off or a weekend off and 2 weeks total. Started riding just on Tuesday this week, and you know, feels good to kind of get back in the swing of things. I'm definitely not 100%, but I feel like I'm better off than I was the rounds before. So I've always liked Atlanta. This is, I mean, shoot, the last time I was here in Atlanta was in 2009, so that's been quite a long time. And before that was when I won in 2006. So I've always really enjoyed being in Atlanta, because just, you know, the vibe of the crowd, just how many people show up for this race. It's so intense. So I've always had a good feeling about this race, and figured it was time to kind of come back, get my feet back in the door, and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely getting, like we say, getting back. But the week in San Diego, I had a crash on the second lap, and I was dead last and made it back to ninth. So one weekend outside of that pack, I guess, and then everyone starts to think, oh, can he still do it? And I just think it's funny how that works. But yeah, getting back in the top 5, I feel like I was better than that. Ran third for a long time, and just made a mistake in a rhythm section that I couldn't jump it, and it cost me 3 positions. I went back to 6th, and then ended up passing Kenny for 5th. So overall, it was a pretty good weekend. I was in the top 5 all day. You know, practice times were good, and that's what I look for. Just be there all day long, like straight from the first practice, and make my presence known. And I feel like that sets the tempo for the whole night. For sure. I mean, we always talk about the start being really critical. I think there's 5, 6, 7 guys right now that are super fast, and if any one of those guys gets the start, it's going to be tough. If you don't get a start, you're never going to catch them. So for sure to start in that lead pack, and then the race is on. You know, if you don't start there, you're going to have your work cut out for you to even get in the top 5. So really putting emphasis on my starts. My bike's been working awesome out of the gate, so we just need to keep that rolling and stay up there.
Yeah, last weekend was a bit rough. I was hoping it was going to go better. From San Diego to Dallas, obviously I had a pretty big get off in San Diego. I went down and practiced at Dallas, and then I was kind of got the same symptoms I did from San Diego and whatnot. So I was a bit sore, and then in the main event, everything was going good. I was running about 14th. Had probably 2 laps to go, and off the Dragon's back, there was a triple, and I got cross-rutted. And then when I got cross-rutted, I spun and kind of went into an endo and went for a little ride. And yeah, I kind of bashed my knee a little bit and got some inflammation in there. So I just kind of took the week off, got my knee worked on, got a few massages, felt good. And then, we're here at Atlanta, and it's supposed to be my first race. Obviously, I got 2 warm-up races prior to this, so I'm happy, ready to go now.
Okay, we'll see how the JGR boys do in front of a lot of the NASCAR fans that'll be coming down to the Atlanta area. Now, we're talking quite a bit about what the dirt in Atlanta will or will not be like, but one thing that is undeniable, the map says this is officially an East Coast event, and we have kicked off the 250SX East campaign for 2014, and what a crazy race in Dallas. Adam Cianciarulo, in his first ever Supercross, has himself a career victory, and ironically, he gets the lead from his teammate Martin Davalos, who has been one of the fastest riders in the class for 9 years, but still is unable to deliver that main event win. Oh, Marty. Really, that class is dominated by Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. So far, they sweep the podium with a championship-proven rider, Blake Baggett, sandwiched in between Davalos and Cianciarulo. We'll see if anyone else can bounce back. Vince Freeze, a good job for 4th as a privateer. Justin Bogle salvaging something for Geico Honda in 5th. Jeremy Martin was a big favorite coming into this, didn't even make the main event on the Yamaha. So could it be all sorts of shaking up in Atlanta? I'm going to put my money on green. Those Kawasaki boys looked awfully strong, and it will be interesting to see the dynamic of that team if they end up all battling for the championship down to the wire, especially considering the varying degrees of experience on that team. Now, speaking of experience, a new experience for Canadian Cole Thompson, who has been picked up now by the Rockstar Energy Racing KTM team, a replacement for the injured Joey Savaggi. He finished 6th in Dallas. He was on hand for press day in Atlanta. And by the way, if you're wondering what this press day thing is, let's also bring in Cole's teammate Ivan Tedesco, a veteran, to explain it all.
Yeah, there's a little benefit coming press day, get on the dirt and get to ride your race bike a little bit, and maybe ride 1 or 2 rhythm lanes and get it figured out. Definitely helps. Yeah, I think this is the first real East Coast race. Last weekend with Dallas, it's really hard pack and kind of kind of that West Coast dirt. But yeah, I'm pumped to come here in Atlanta with this Georgia clay and with some traction, and it'll be fun.
I did 2 450 races earlier this year. Didn't make the main event, made the night show, was 2 spots out both times. Just not enough time on the 350 to get comfortable with it. It's a tough class. Then opted to go down to the 250, get ready for the East Coast. Last weekend went good for me. I felt like I could have been a little more aggressive in the earlier stages of the race, but still managed to finish 6th, and really worked hard this week. Just hopefully, go out there, get a good start, and then show what I worked on.
Okay, kids, that's it. We've talked to the riders, we've seen the track, we've given you the news, the updates, the analysis. The only thing left for me to do is take a page out of the old Atlanta Falcons ball coach Jerry Glanville, who used to leave tickets at the Georgia Dome for Elvis in case he decided to wake from the dead and show up. So I'm going to go to Will Call and try to mark some tickets down for Damon Bradshaw in case he wants to come back and blow the roof off the place and make it look like it did back in the day in the Fulton County Stadium, where he won all the time. Damon, we miss you, man. That's it. We'll see you in Atlanta. Thanks for watching.